I would like to welcome everybody here. Today, I would like to dwell upon our solutions for two-factor authentication, and our event takes place in the online format, and therefore our solutions tend to be very topical. A couple of comments on our company's activities. We have some experience for dealing with IBM Domino from 98. We also have the status of IBM Gold Premier Business Partner. Our professional team encompasses certified IBM Lotus Domino administrations for IBM. Also, we are dealing with a Tivoli certified professional. It used to be Tivoli directory integrator, being a part of Domino, and it could be used for the synchronization with the directories. We also have two-factor authentication for Whereas I know 6 pages, and Vladislav dwelt upon that yesterday, and Domino Traveler Monitoring, Simon, our director, Vladislav, is the co-author for 3 IBM Red Books dedicated to IBM Domino, optimizing Domino administration, Domino 8.5 deployment. A couple of comments on my background. Since 1998, I've been working with IBM Domino nodes. I used to work in one of the banks deploying IBM Domino, and my employees actually use it. For 12 years. I've been at the head of IT operations. Nowadays, I'm a part of CYONE company, being in charge of some solutions using the languages of C, Java, Lotus Script, and my key projects are two-factor authentication, and I'm also part of the monitoring project. As I've mentioned already, today the key trend is to use the online format, and that just poses some new requirements for security. What are the key trends for us and for the past period? So we use the various outsourcing services and some freelancers, consultants, outsourcers, which are not available within the company. Also, we also exercise webification of information systems, and Domino goes towards web technologies and void tailwares. And also webmail access is very successfully developing, and it needs some additional measures for safeguarding the system. The product itself is quite safe, but we would like to somehow enhance it and improve it. And the users also have become very mobile and flexible with due regard to the agents which do operate from various parts of the world, who are moving very actively, and those employees who are supposed to have an access 7/24, and it also have to have some higher security. And over the past 10-15 years, we had BIOS bring devices when you have to use the resource of the company, and also use your own equipment. And with regard to the above-mentioned trends, we have some kind of bottleneck. That is the password and account and authentication. Sometimes people are kind of lazy as to composing sophisticated passwords, saying 12 digits, symbols, etc. And they prefer passwords of that sort. And it could easily be familiarized and memorized. And therefore, one of the methods of securing the system and making more sophisticated passwords, we like to use the so-called palatable passwords. They have numbers, they have letters, they have digits. And you can easily memorize it and you can pronounce it, and it is somehow a well thought password. And some people neglect this particular fact. Probably people saw such a wonderful picture when you come up to the workplace of some member of the staff. And if he uses these notes, of course, his colleagues and other stakeholders may resort to that particular structure. But this is some kind of grotesque example, but it's not as simple as that. And at the station of surveillance in the Hawaii, at the startup complex, when the setup of a rocket took place, and this is a password for the employee. It is attached to the system, and it's well, it's not just fortuitous that out of the blue there was a message about the start of the rocket, and it was of great interest to those who come from outside. They may get an access to the paper password. Some people do not understand certain things. Some people neglect the rules of security. And they would like to facilitate the process, and they actually transfer passwords to one another, and it's hard to deal with that situation. And if there is some kind of a senior manager who has a PA and secretary, his passwords are very well known to them all. And it may immediately entail some very negative consequences. These people may be recruited by somebody. It could be part of the conspiracy plan. And actually, if you want to get care of the situation, you may do that. You may get unsanctioned access to an information of those senior managers, and it's not a rare fact. For example, we had some kind of a leak of information at the pre-election period, and also we have VIPs. VIPs, that sort of people, you could hardly explain certain things to them. And pretty often you came across such situations that don't break my mind with your passwords, you color bear. And that happens pretty often. And it's just the first part dedicated to HR. And a couple of comments on the means and tools of selecting a password. Brute force attack. Yes, that's the first tool. And we use various algorithms, artificial intelligence, analyzing the languages, and hereby the password selection will not be a mere coincidence. They may use the language features and peculiarities. They may analyze the big data using the AI tools, and they may structure the whole picture of some culture which is applicable to a specific organization, and that will facilitate the selection of a password, the composing of various glossaries, etc. And also the password selection could be a very slow brute force, and you does not get an avalanche of information, but just little by little, step by step, this password is being generated. That could hardly be detected, and you are supposed to have the means for monitoring, and there should be the appropriate logics embedded into that, so that you understand that something goes wrong. Also, we have some measures to combat that particular actions. And you, on a periodical basis, have to change your passwords with regard to the policy of the company once in 30 days or so. So the passwords should be more sophisticated. They should be lengthy and having 12 signs and special signs and digits and numbers and letters, and also analyze some failures and some not very successful selection of a password. And you may identify it by the IP. A person may be somewhere else, not necessarily in his country, and there could be an attempt identified that somebody tries from alien address to get access to the password. And for example, it could be done in Beijing. And people really try to somehow decipher his or her password. So you really have to block your account, or you have to block it via IP. This erroneous attempt. And also you may use this technology to keep track of your credit card. If your credit card is used in Moscow and then in 5 minutes it is used in other country of the globe, it means that it was the unsanctioned and fraudulent actions, and you have to immediately block your card. And Daniel Nash, the IBM champion, elaborated the methodology for fail-to-ban solution, and that is Domino tool, and you may use this particular link and improve the security of your system. It is integrated with the Linux firewall, and with regard to some certain rules, it could be blocked, and the message could be blocked from some suspicious addresses. And also you may use the same link and see how Daniel tuned it in, and it has a very interesting article further on. Let's talk about some other sphere. This is a human factor. We have some various attacks, and it is called social engineering, and that is the type of attack in order to get unsanctioned, unauthorized access to the information to the storage systems without using any technical tools. And the person who attacks uses the human psyche peculiarities or some weak points. In practical terms, it's some kind of a performance organized. You have some kind of a pretexting as some person tries to use some messages, Skypes, telephones, and the whole performance is staged. A girl, a secretary, would like to select some new person, newly hired person, and so they get a call. And very quickly, they tend to say, we had a meeting, so I wasn't present at this meeting. I really have to really fast to get the report to my top. So please send me the minutes of the protocol or presentation or some documents. And I do not have any access to the corporate mail. So this is my public email. You may send all the information there. And the key thing is that you have to press the person and urge upon very fast feedback and very fast operation, so that the person do not have any time to think about it. And as a result, an experienced person may immediately send the document to this venue which has been identified. And we have an old thing, so loose lips sink ships, and this is a treasure for the spy. Unfortunately, it is still topical. And another variety is phishing. Phishing. It's not the phishing in the sense of phishing, but it has another spelling. So phishing attack. An employee it gets then electronic letter, and it looks very authentic. For example, there's a technical support of IBM. And the letter is with the design, with all the pictures, with all the proper wording, but you know that the text may look identical on the screen, and but it could be absolutely different. And I letter gets from a pan-European language, from the French. And it's, if you have a very minor font, you won't identify it. And of course, his record, his account will be just stolen. And then the person may use this data upon his own interest, and the technical service might identify it, but nevertheless, it could be not a very severe detriment to the corporate mail or some cloud solutions, but nevertheless, it could be harmful. And some services in the public internet may get some critical information, prudential information for business. But as we know, if you owe information, you owe the world. And it is a very costly goods nowadays. Also, we may have some deficiencies and errors of configuration for Domino servers. For example, it could be the outdated standard of HTTP passwords. And you see on the screenshot, we have 4.6, and our director, Vladislav, has hash of these passwords, and one of our clients actually wanted to do the sampling of passwords, and he immediately responded, my director, as to this passwords configuration. Also, you may use the not very valid standards for coding the traffic. And also you may use some weak or outdated algorithms for SSL TLS protocols. And another problem, that there should be a very poor tuning onto the blocking, which should safeguard the unsanctioned access attempts, which is essential for our clients, and it becomes really indispensable. Also, we may have some errors in configuration in web administrator. It could be immediately blocked and removed. As to the service in the public domain, we have 3, and we may also have errors in ACL, for example, for the access for anonymous. And it does mean that some specific application may be used. Also, we have to somehow safeguard and improve the accounts, and that should be the standards of PCI DSS. And also, we have to be guided by the national and international laws on the protection of personal data. And the operator of this data have to provide some additional security and safety for this data. But regrettably, the fines could be really substantial if you infringe the requirements of GDPR, 20 million euros or 4% from the annual turnover of the company, which is just lethal. And that's sum for any company. Yes, and Russia will also have the law to regulate this process. And also, if you have the unsanctioned access to the computer information, you are fined and penalized for that if the system is broken and if the system is rolled out. But not always. These measures just block the process, and it's sometimes real hard to capture the fraudulent person and prove that a specific person just resorted to these fraudulent operations. But we have some good news. First and foremost, we really have to safeguard ourselves, and we have to train our staff. And if you know how to deal with any kind of an operation, you have to be trained. And in the course of auditing, it could be immediately revealed. So you should know how to store the information. You should know how to appropriately handle the information systems, and whom you are eligible to convey information and not. And you have to be obeying the instructions of the company. But sometimes, yes, loose leaf sink ships. Of course, social media, people like to share some information, talk about their new workplaces. And that was the real performance stage when the information was just drained from a secretary. And people really like to speak about the analysis and in the social media. And an abuser may get much information from you, though you might not be willing to speak about it. Technically speaking, really you have to ensure the higher level of safety and security, and you have to resort to the two-factor authentication, 2FA, to the standard pair. That is user and password, and another factor is added. That is some kind of information identity, and it could be either some unique code sent via SMS or email, or in the past banks used TN passwords, and once you just handle this 10, you are given the new one. The generators of unique codes like tokens, they were generated via specific algorithms, also special mobile applications to generate a unique code, which is just inherent and embedded into your mobile device, and it could hardly be captured by the abusers. And also we use some digital certificates, and it was some kind of an additional electronic signature upon your request, and it was actually passed to the server and checked further on, and it should had to be installed on a specific computer. But who used this computer, that was another question. And nowadays we use the biometric analysis, the fingerprint and Face ID, which is used in Apple devices. And that is how you may be identified as a unique personality, that indeed that is you. You have your unique password, and you may just hook onto a specific information system. What are our solutions? And they are designated to safeguard the web applications on the basis of Domino, that is Verse, iNotes, and other web applications which are available at the servers. They are quite simple. They do not need any additional service or additional installation. Very often we use the firewall tools, self-BPM portal, specific access pages, but these tools are very sophisticated and very costly, and their implementation may just be coupled with a serious change of configuration, and not everybody is prepared to do so, as it is all tied up to the planned that time, and if you have to change firewalls, it may just entail some serious and labor-intensive efforts, and the internet may be just shut down for a certain period of time. No, as to our solutions, we use the Domino applications and DHCP files filters for Domino. And we also support clusters of Domino. You get authorized on one, and you will not need some extra authorization. You don't need to be rechanneled, and therefore the system works. The second password may be generated upon the standard algorithm time-based one-time password, which is used by Google Authenticator free OTP, to name a few. As to SMS, we have an integration with SMS modems having a web API, and you may use any internet service to have VPI, and you may also send email or use some alternative email, or some Bitway SMS have functions of email servers, and the messages could be sent there via the second code. Domino 9 version is supported, and Domino version 10, version 11, and we will also support some new version, Domino Forever.
Today, at least we know that in new versions Domino, our solution will be also applicable. The system which we can support, there are 64 of them, including Linux and Windows x64. The main features of this system are as follows: protections against code selection, a similar mechanism to that is used in an app backup, but also for user. For example, if you understand that a code is attempted to be entered, you may have a number of attempts selected, and our solution blocks it against users. And if you know well the standard pair of passwords and codes, our solution will disconnect this hacker from the system. We also have integration with inbuilt monitoring systems. We have a set of statistics which can be used for monitoring purposes, that failure logins counter, which may inform you about the rapid growth of attempts to enter wrong code, that one of our clients was saved from hacking. It was a public client. Their passwords were phished from some of their deputies, and as a result, they were able to defend their system using our solution. They noted that someone was trying to find the proper code and direct it on time, and thereafter they changed the relevant password. We have timeout for codes which are sent through SN text messages or email. It will not be a permanent code, but it will be time-limited code, only for a code which was sent to you, not forever. We also support internet servers for text messages. The algorithm that we use is a standard one, RFC6338, which is implemented by Google Authenticator. We have a flexible tool for adjusting exceptions for some applications. Probably applications may not be defended with this tool. They will be excluded from the check, and you may exclude from the regular checks URL calls or some addresses. You can also do it in the following manner: whenever any address to the web network from the internal organization will not be protected, but from external source it will be protected, because we have a tool to exclude networks relying on IP addresses, CIDI. Also, for user convenience, we have a self-service portal to initiate applications. A user enters the system, passes through authentication. It can be done only from the internal network, and then initiates using the scanning of the QR code on the screen. Use application. The applications generates one-time codes, which makes administrators' life much easier. On top of that, there is an opportunity to send the code you generated by email. As a result, the user will have a backup copy just in case. Or, for example, it can be fitted on other devices. QR code is a unique one. It is generated but once. And if you do a refresh, the code will be a new one each time. Then licensing. How the system is licensed. The system has two licensing models. The Express model, well, for licensing servers and users, or Enterprise. It is licensed only for servers for an unlimited number of users. The cost is different, naturally, but there is an offer for RNUG 2020 participants. Just call us, describe your problems, and we'll make an interesting offer to you. To wrap up my presentation, what are the benefits of our system? It improves protection of web apps and web mail. Also, it dramatically reduces the risk of unsanctioned use of users' accounts. There is no 100% protection that's like a sword and shield, but at least our solution will make life of potential hackers very difficult. And on top of that, our solution allows you to control usage and to promptly respond to any unauthorized use. Also, it helps you if your company has to pass some certification tests to satisfy regulators' requirement for personal data protection, and it will help you to pass such tests because it gives you an extra layer of protection. It is simple installation, will not require any additional equipment or involving people from other teams, like people who specialize in security or who are dealing with firewalls, which dramatically reduces time and all administrative burden for implementation of the solution. And it is simple to install and to use. You may see it for yourself. You have a free version for 5 registered users. You can download using this link, and you can protect your own administrator's account or VIP accounts and some other relevant records. And in a nutshell, that's all. I hope I was not too fast for our translators. I hope our guests who are not Russian speakers were able to understand at least something. I am prepared to take your questions, if any. Vlad. Sergey, thank you very much for your presentation. I have several questions. Do you know that Hassel Top, you tested Hassel 12 version, which was tested with Domino testing. It also looking for two-factor authentication. Is there any difference between your solution and the one which is proposed by HCL? We are always glad when HCL introduces something new. It points to development of the product that people are not sitting idle. But as I said yesterday, from what they are doing, they're issuing a new version each year, we've looked at their presentation. Their solution is pretty interesting, but as compared to our solution, it uses only time-based effort. And as we saw today, that is sending a code by a text message is not present there. It will be interesting to follow the developments, but by now it is not yet clear when it is out in production. Our solution is available for sale now. We can give you both a free option, or we can arrange a demonstration to show its advantages. But as of today, they have not yet announced their release for deadline. Domino is announced for the spring next year, somewhere in late spring. But as soon as beta appears, we'll install it and we'll test our solution, and we'll see what HCL people are offering. It was also interesting to monitor their progress. We'll see whether they've made something better than we did. We'll be able to improve our own product. We always try to rely on other people's experience. Steve Jobs said that it is not prohibited. I have another question. You said that there is a free version. Is it really free? You can take it from the website and download and put it on a server and to protect your users. Yes, it is absolutely free. You can use it to protect your people. There was a case when a partner from UK just downloaded and said that it will be using free of charge for internal purposes this version. While we said that there will be no problem. It means that if people like your solution, then they will be able to replace it with a permanent version, which will be available to all users. You will have to replace several files, and on top of that, if you are going to use TOP, TP, you will have to register users. Each user should be registered individually in order to create a proper algorithm for the unique code. And my final question, if a client decides to select an HCL solution which will be released in a year's time, theoretically, they can subscribe to your solution. Yes, yes, next year our solution will be available by subscription. A client may acquire a temporary license, but if the client at the end of the day will like our solution, will decide to migrate, will be only too happy. Thank you for your excellent presentation. I hope to meet you again. If there are further questions, you may write to us, and we'll send these questions to Sergey, and in his updated presentation he will provide answers. Thank you. You will find on the last page you will find my contacts. I will be happy to answer a question. So maybe you see some scope for improvement on a product, or if something was not clear, I will prefer happy to provide clarifications. Thank you. Thank you.